Hello. It's well sunny. Uh, I have had an interesting day. I got the overnight National Express coach from Yorkshire for reasons I'll probably tell you about at some point. But I'm a bus person. It's something that I didn't aspire to be as a child. Bus people are usually associated with things like the Channel 4. Do you remember the Channel 4 program Coach Trip, where old couples sort of pass the time by driving to places like Penzance or Hastings or sort of like North Wales on a coach. Sea Houses, that's a place up north. We went on a camping holiday once, and there was some seals there. That was good. There's a comedian from Brighton called Rob Dumbrell who goes up there every year to do the Chili Festival, which is an interesting thing. Never been to the Chili Festival. Don't really like really hot food. I prefer food that has a flavor. I don't mind like a kick green Tabasco sauce is a thing. Jalapeno flavored green sauce. And it's quite nice. It's all right. It's like a mild Tabasco. I don't mind normal Tabasco, but it's like a mild green Tabasco, which is fun, isn't it? Not like when they made green tomato ketchup, which was just tomato ketchup with green food coloring in. I think it was a Halloween limited edition. Because that's what people wanted. You know, you can have normal disgusting ketchup, or you can have that, but green. But do you want some green sauce? I'll have some green sauce on my chips, thank you very much. I'm a bus person. I realised it last night as I was waiting for the bus. Normally, I wouldn't smoke a cigarette if I'm going to be in like a confined space with someone for a long period of time. Like say, I worked in a tiny office with a man. You know, like for a company that that hasn't got lots of money. Like maybe like with the admin for like a stamp collector. There was when do you remember the credit crunch? Do you remember that? You over there? Do you remember the recession? Well, there's a street on Brighton called Queen's Road, and there's all these businesses on it. And over the course of like the recession, these businesses kept popping up. Like there was coffee shops, and there was like little cafes and stuff that would open and then just sort of inexplicably close like a couple of months later. But there was one shop which managed to stay open the whole time throughout the recession. It was recession-proof business, and it was a stamp auction place. I'm not sure if it's still there now, but it survived that whole banking crisis. The stamp auction place, but they sold like Hornby Railways. Do you remember model trains? And stamps and stuff like that. I guess like you'd either buy like books of already completed stamps, or you would take your prized, limited edition stamps in, and they'd give you just some unnecessary amount of money for them, I suppose. But somehow it survived the credit crunch, and I always thought maybe it was like a front for some sort of business, maybe a business that sort of deals in wild animals, like if people wanted to have like a cheetah as a pet, you'd be like, you'd go into the stamp auction place and you'd be like, I'll have a couple of first class big cat stamps, please. And then the guy would give you like a knowing wink, and then you'll wait for the couple of old men who were trying to get a couple more sort of plastic sleepers for their railway track, or maybe they've got a little model church that they're going to put in the little village that the train goes through, or just some sort of like pretend turf for like when the train's going up through the imaginary Pennines. Wait for them last people to leave, and then he just sort of takes him into the back through like a beaded doorway, and in there he's got like tiger cubs and stuff. I reckon that's the most likely thing that was going on. It was an old man who was selling tiny tiny illegal cats, and somehow they survived. Then that coupled with the expensive stamps, maybe one day someone just bought in just the most expensive stamp ever, which is what's the most expensive stamp ever?
Here is information from Catawiki.
Wow, the British Guiana, Guyana, 1 cent magenta stamp, $9 million. I got this stamp. It's actually a 1 cent stamp from the past, and unlike most stamps, it's magenta. Would you like it? Oh yeah, I'll have that. How much do you want? I'll take $9 million for that, please. You're aware that that's a stamp, just a stamp, and it can't be that old because it's got the. No, it's got a queen on it. I don't know if it's got the current queen. It's hard to say when you're only getting a side view of her face in stamp form. It's hard to say whether there's an inverted Jenny. I don't know what kind of stamp that is. It's hard to say whether or not that's our queen. I mean, on a stamp, all they really need to do is put an old lady in a crown on it. I can't imagine someone being like, "That's not the queen." Is that the queen? But that's good. Actually, the one I was looking at wasn't even the correct one. That was the penny black. I'm sure there's some avid stamp fans out there who are just like, "Fuck, can't believe there's finally a podcast where a guy just names stamps and how much they cost, whilst talking about coaches." Really, that's what we're really talking about here is coaches. Remember that, because we're going to need to get back onto that in a minute. The rarest and most valuable stamp in the world is the British Guiana. I'm going to say Guyana. It's 1 cent magenta, which hold an estimated value of €9 million. Sorry, I said dollars then, but it was really a euro sign. But to be honest, I'm so invested in leaving the European Union that I've just disregarded the euro sign. I feel like that everything to do with Europe, I'm just out now. I don't like Eurovision. Don't care for it. The European Cup, I'm not a fan of that. I feel like I'm just going to follow the World Cup and let the European Cup. I'm not going to go on holiday to Europe. I'm only going to go to Mauritius. Where's Mauritius? It's probably in Europe. If it is, then I'm not going. What about Gibraltar? Is that staying in or out? Didn't all the people who live in Gibraltar, all the expats, all the British Gibraltar, the ex-British currently Gibraltar people, didn't they all vote for a Brexit and now they're going to have to leave? I can't remember. But €9 million, a delivery of stamps from London to British Guiana in 1856 had been delayed, so the 1C magenta was created in limited numbers to ensure continued trade and communication with the island. Do you think that people would do you think there's a good racket for, like, if you wanted a stamp to become, to be honest, ludicrously expensive, like that €9 million stamp we were just talking about? Do you think that you might sort of invent a stamp, a limited edition, maybe 100 stamps, and then do something to fuck up the delivery of stuff, so like all the trade stops for a couple of days, and all you've got, and then you have to put these 100 stamps in circulation, and then all of a sudden it fixes itself, and then the stamps are unnecessary anymore, but there's only 100 of them in the world, and then all of a sudden, and then you sort of have secretly kept back half the stamps, like 50 stamps, and each one of those stamps, I suppose if there was 100, maybe they'd be worth less, but like you've just made yourself several million pounds. These are really good business plans. Like, I feel like if I suddenly start driving around in a posh car like a Ford Mondeo, or just anything that's got anything like Ford or hatchback, Skoda Fabia. If you see me just driving about basically in a car, I've made my million secretly on stamp money. But don't grass me up, because I think there's on average 10 people who listen to this, and maybe one of them's in my family. So and then the other 9 probably know me personally. So could you not call the police? I'm pretty sure it's still regular police. The stamp police, I feel like no one would just take on just the stamp aspect of law enforcement, like the stamp area, because I feel like they would have too much time to sit around. Maybe they have like a TA, like territorial army, but police force, where like some sort of home guard version of the police, where it's just a couple of old men, in like a cramped office, who are just trying to stamp down on postage stamp crime, and that could be their motto. We're stamping down on crime, one postage stamp at a time. So what I wouldn't, if I was going to work on that force, if I was going to work on that on that branch of the territorial police, where we just focus on stamp based financial crime, I wouldn't smoke before I went into that office, because I'd be aware that I'd be sat across with just some other guy in the whole time I was there. But I noticed yesterday that I didn't care about smoking and then getting on a coach for like 8 hours, probably going to have to sit next to a dude, because I just sort of figured like we're all bus people. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I've sat next to people who are secretly drinking special brew, and they say that if you get caught drinking lager, they'll just kick you out right wherever you are where you get caught. So you could just be 1 minute just happily drinking a special brew. By the way, I was trying my hardest last episode to remember the name of special brew, and it is special brew. So anyone who was just for the last week being like, fucking special brew, you twat. Yeah, you're right, it was special brew. Also, so you're drinking your special brew, you're having a nice little relaxing coach trip, drinking your special brew, and then the guard, they have 2 guys driving the bus, not at the same time, but one of them's just like the muscle, and he walks up and down the bus to make sure no one is drinking special brew. And the trick is to put it in a different kind of bottle, I suppose. But yeah, they say they'll just kick you out there and then. I'm not sure how true or legal that is. I think maybe they have to drop you off at a thing, but they threaten. They do half threaten you to kick you out just wherever. To get off the bus. You probably wouldn't give a fuck at the time because you're drinking 10% lager. You're like, oh, fucking get off this fucking bus. You can't fucking, don't fucking touch me. Don't touch me. I'm getting off this bus. I didn't even want to be on this bus. And this bus is a shit bus, and you're a shit driver. I could have driven this bus there and back by now. They'd be like, please, you've been on the bus for 20 minutes, and you think you could have driven to Newcastle and back. Oh, well, you know, fuck you. And then he's all of a sudden in the middle of, well, he finds himself on the outskirts of Milton Keynes. Nothing to do. And he's finished his special brew, so he just sort of has to sober up in Milton Keynes, and I guess just get another coach to learn the error of his ways. Maybe that's what that special brew drinking needs to turn his life around. He's hit rock bottom on the outskirts of Milton Keynes coach station. So in a way, it's good that happened to him, because if he was just allowed to just willy-nilly, I haven't really said willy-nilly that much. I was going to say in public. Does this count as being? I suppose it counts a bit like being in public, but I've not said. I'm going to start saying willy-nilly more. Willy-nilly. Do you reckon there's a guy called William Nilly? Mr. Nilly? I'm not looking it up. But maybe that's what this guy needs. Like, if people are just letting him just drink special brew. I feel like maybe if you see a guy on the street just drinking his special brew, just be like, don't. No one ever says it. Everyone's a bit afraid of the street drinker, aren't they? Because they're a loose cannon. You don't know if they're going to hurl just a can of liquid at you. A can of questionable liquid. Like, blue bottles of cider are intimidating, aren't they? I was thinking about this the other day, right? There's a company that makes White Lightning. Do you remember if you don't know what White Lightning is, it's like blue bottle clear cider that we used to drink as youths, like when we were in the park, because you get 3 litres of it and it's 7.5%, and it just tastes like nothing else in the world. But it is the taste that they've settled on. And they claim it's cider. But It tastes like they've put everything that you'd put in cider apart from apples in there. And it's just a different colour, and the bottle's a different colour, and it's white lightning. We used to drink one called Zeppelin, which used to make me feel a bit cooler because I'd get a marker pen and I'd write lead above where it said Zeppelin, for no real reason, just to play on words that isn't related to anything. Also, but there's a CEO of White Lightning in there, and there's people who work in factories, and I know some people work in factories. It's just some towns employ a lot of people who work in factories, and it's not a bad thing. But you wouldn't. I'm not sure I would particularly want to dedicate my whole life to just screwing on the tops of screwing lids on the tops of White Lightning bottles. I'm sure they've got a machine that does it, but someone's operating it. And Matt, when you get to the pearly gates, and then God's like, "Now then, what have you been up to all your life?" And I'll be like, well, I've been screwing the top on all these White Lightning bottles for about 45 years. Because there are only 4 youths. So the people who are drinking this cider, for want of a better word, is people under 18 because they just want to get pissed quick. And they don't want to keep asking people to go in the shop for them. So they're just going to say, go in the shop, get me 2 bottles of that. That's 6 litres. That'll get a whole classroom of 16-year-olds drunk 6 litres of cider. 7.5% White Lightning will get, I reckon, maybe not a whole class. I think, well, how many's in a class? 30. If you had 10 mates, you could all be wankered if you're 16 off 2 bottles of that. You just pass it around. You start to convince yourself it tastes nice. Do you know what I mean? But the only people who are drinking White Lightning are either youths who shouldn't be doing it anyway, or people who've got a drinking problem because it's cheap. And it's strong. And it tastes like shit. You can put blackcurrant in it, and it does improve it somewhat, but it's just, or when you put that in, it's just sweet as fuck because every time you buy juice now, it's double concentrated. And they think, it'll last you twice as long, like when you've got washing up liquid, but no one, when they pour your Persil in the thing, they're like, oh, it will last like 4 times as long because it's super concentrated washing up liquid. I've never changed the quantity I put in, regardless of how strong it says it is. It's never been excessively bubbly, has it? Just put a normal amount in. I'm not sure. I think maybe it's just a way of charging us more. Have I seen behind the curtain here on the washing up industry racket? They say double strength, but they know people aren't going to take heed of that. They're just going to keep using it as if it's normal bog standard single strength washing up liquid. But they're like, we've charged you twice as much for that because it's supposed to last you twice as long, but it won't because they know you won't fucking do that. And now you're paying twice as much for washing up liquid. Have you ever thought about that? I feel a strongly worded letter to Fairy coming on. It's weird that the logo is a baby. Babies aren't fairies, are they? Anyway, going a bit off topic here. Yeah, there's a CEO of White Lightning, and they're just catering for underage drinkers or alcoholics. One of those 2 things. I suppose I have got friends who did used to drink it with me, and now I'm the only one with the drinking problem, unless they've all got one but haven't realised it yet. Maybe everyone's got one. I don't know. Maybe some people can just roll with it a bit better than me. But there's people who devoted their lives to that. There's several William Nillys on Facebook. I feel like that's the sort of name where you can't really trust. You can't really trust a person that's their real name because they might have just put that in. This guy. So the trick is to look for someone who doesn't look like a very fun guy. Like I've got the William Nilly here. He is he's from Bakersfield in California, which is funny because Limp Bizkit always said they're from Bakersfield, so I always assumed it was some more sort of Florida kind of redneck place, like a Texas, or just kind of a not going to branch everyone with the same brush, but I just thought Bakersfield was maybe a bit of more of a douchey place. Is that where they're even from? Bakersfield? Am I thinking of Corn? Oh no, they are because they're from Jacksonville. The Biscuits. It's in that song, isn't it? He goes, "I'm a redneck fucker from Jacksonville." Whatever song that is, I remember that line. That's nothing like Bakersfield, is it? Jacksonville. Right, we've got a William Nilly here. I've got a mutual friend. Oh no, they've only got one friend. You see, that's how you know it's not real, because his picture is just a funny looking guy in glasses, and that's his only post, and he's only got one friend who's a girl called Alana. So that's what I mean. That isn't a genuine William Nilly, but there's sort of a basketball player. That's a picture from Space Jam. They've got no post. See, I feel like the Bakersfield, California. He's got a picture of his family up there. You see, the problem is, I've just looked at one of his things, and Tiffany said, "What an attractive-looking bunch! Happy belated birthday, Joey." So he's pulled the wool over my eyes as well. Do you know what? I've never been so pissed off with a man from Bakersfield, California before. I was looking for a genuine William Nilly, and he's come out. His name's Joey. I bet it's not even Joey Nilly. Do you know what I mean? Just changed his name, old Joey Nilly. Stop acting so sort of lackadaisical. Stop just treating the world like. Stop behaving so Joey Nilly. Who is the CEO of White Lightning? I feel like he's you've got to be a bad person. What about the people? What about William Hill or Betfred? Is that a guy? What? How does Betfred go to sleep at night? Do you know what I mean? No. I suppose some people do it for fun, but no one's gambling for a laugh, are they? Everyone's gambling so they eventually can stop gambling. Right. CEO, White Lightning.
Here's a summary from Wikipedia. The Chief Executive Officer is the most senior corporate, executive, or administrative officer in charge of managing an organization, especially an independent legal entity.
Cool. That's not what I wanted to know, but thanks for the info. CEO, White Lightning Company.
Here's what I found on the web.
I'm not quite. White light appears to be something else. I'm just going to type it with my fingers. White lightning, but it is one of the most disgusting things. Let's see here. White Lightning was a brand of English white cider produced from the early 1990s until 2009, which is they got bought out by Bulmers. Do you know what I mean? Like you've seen like Bulmers adverts and stuff where they've got people in orchards like picking apples. They got like, oh, we use like real pears and real apples, and it's all like, well, a great bunch of lads, environmentally conscious. But we also make White Lightning. But we're not going to talk about that during the advert. White Lightning quickly gained brand recognition in the late 1990s and 2000s. Yeah, I think my White Lightning career was probably between 2000 and 5, maybe, to 2000 to, probably going to say the last time I actively drank it maybe was 2011. By that time I'd moved on to more of a bronzed cider, like a Crompton Oaks. That was around 2011. So I'm going to say that that's a good 6 years of white cider. Its distinctive large deep blue coloured thin plastic bottle design, very low price and high strength, making it popular with those seeking strong alcohol with minimal money to spend. Their target market is those seeking strong alcohol with minimum money to spend. It's just not very ethical. I mean, I bought it. And there's people who buy, there's people who have got problems. Stop. Make it harder. I mean, I suppose maybe that's why they've stopped making it in 2009. But that doesn't mean that there isn't other ones. And the people do that because I didn't know it was owned by Bulmers, and they have got such a product range that they can discontinue something, and everyone could be like, "Oh, you're doing a good thing there. You stopped making White Lightning," but they just secretly make something else. They just get you like that. It's difficult, but anyway, yeah, I'm a coach person, just had to just figure out how to sleep just sitting up, which isn't ideal. And I'll either get a late night coach that goes through the night, or I'll get a really early morning one, so I'm fucking like leave at 4 a.m, so I'm like knackered. And then by the time you've had a big sleep, it's like lunchtime or whatever, and you're almost there. But they make it just well uncomfortable. First start, it's always hot. It smells like hot tuna. I'm not sure why. It smells like just hot tuna. On the way up, and I know that any seasoned coach person isn't going to bring fish on a coach, like dead or alive. Do you know what I mean? So there's no reason for it to smell like tuna, but it does. And then they give you these leather seats, which that's pretty high class leather. That's what people go for when they buy cars, and they want a leather interior. But a hot bus full of how many, 80 people, and you just stick into this fucking seat. There's a guy next to you who doesn't want to sit next to you because I've got long hair and I'm a bit scruffy and vagrant sort of looking. I've got the fragrance of a vagrant. I wouldn't want to sit next to me. If I saw me getting on a bus, I'd be like, fuck. Because I'm a nice person, but I just dress like a fucking sort of like a homeless looking guy sometimes. Especially when I'm getting the coach. So I want to be comfortable, so I'll wear not my best trousers. You know what I mean? I'd wear not my favourite shirt. I'll wear normally, because I've got a penchant for large coats, so I'll wear a big coat just so that I can take off and use it as a sort of duvet, like a sort of blankie. I wouldn't want to sit next to me when I saw me getting on a bus. You know what I mean? So I always I sit down and I'd be like, sorry, mate. Just apologise for just sort of being there. I've not done anything wrong. I mean, I've bought a ticket to get on the coach. There's no need for me to be sorry to this man, but I feel like I have to apologise to him. Do you know what I mean? I started this off by saying that we're all bus people, but I guess maybe I haven't fully integrated into. I don't mind so much if I'm already on the bus, and then someone gets on and they have to sit next to me. I don't apologise then, but if I'm have to sit down, I'm like, sorry, dude. And then they just have all sorts of shit just jutted out. They've got the window seat, and I think this is the same on planes and that. But they've got the window seat, which has got a fucking armrest. Have I complained about this before? I feel like I might have complained about this before, but it's something that really bothers me. They got an armrest that you don't need because there's a windowsill. There's a windowsill maybe the average size penis, erect penis above it. So a good couple of inches. What's the average? A good 4.5 inches. That's what I've been told. Don't fucking look at me like that, dude. This is what I've been told. And everyone's like, oh, fucking must have a gargantuan penis. Do you know what I mean? It's a couple of what am I talking about? Anyway, about an erect penis, average British male, white British male's average erect penis size above this armrest is a windowsill. I'm not some sort of peeping Tom. I don't know that verbatim. I don't know if that is the actual length. I'm just saying what I'm trying to say. It's about 6 inches above the windowsill. All right. I'm not a fucking creep. I'm not a coach creep because sometimes windows are tinted. Because National Express have got a guy. He's like a mascot, and he's a little man in a hat. But sometimes he's all printed on the side of the bus. So some of the windows are just tinted by the cheeks of this National Express mascot. So there's ways that you could be a bus creep, and the people outside wouldn't really know. And if there's no one sat next to you, maybe you've happen to get one of the buses with not many people on. you could probably be a bus creep. So then I've given you sort of the specs of the. So if you wanted to scope it out and be a bus creep, I've sort of given you the specs of the distance between the armrest and the windowsill. But you could just, what I'm saying is, you could just rest your arm on the windowsill, so you don't need it. But it doesn't retract. All the other arm rests retract. So there's just no need for that one, and they don't let it retract. So you can't fucking lie. You can't fucking lie because it just juts out and like stabs you up in that. And it's just fucking, everything's a bit of a fucking joke. It is a lot cheaper though, but I feel like that still isn't our fault. It's just that trains are just ridiculously expensive. Trains are the ideal way to travel. I feel like there should be train tracks to everywhere that I wanted to go. When I was a kid, I used to want to travel via roller coaster. I was like, I'll get a roller coaster that goes to school, and then I'll get a roller coaster that goes to like Sainsbury's. And then, but the problem is there's lots of places you want to go, isn't there? And you can't have a roller coaster going everywhere. But then the whole streets are just going to be full of roller coaster that are only going to be used by me, because you can't just have people just William Nilliam, fucking Joey Nilly, just fucking flying about on roller coasters all day because there's not enough space. It's a very selfish dream. But at the time I was like, it'd be cool. But now I'm thinking about it. Do I want to be on a roller coaster immediately after waking up? The only person who has to ask that question seriously is a roller coaster tester. Do you reckon he ever wakes up and is like, fuck's sake, I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered to be spun round at 10 in the morning. Is there one guy who goes to all of them? Because again, that's not a job that's needed all the time, because how many roller coasters are springing up? Like on a day-to-day basis. Not many. Like, it's a big deal when an Alton Towers one opens, and an even bigger deal where a couple of months later it chops someone's fucking leg off. But there's not happening a lot. So maybe what we could probably do is we could incorporate the financial wing of the territorial police, the stamp division. We can get one of those guys to also be the roller coaster tester, but quite old men. But I suppose maybe that's what you want. You want a roller coaster that's scary, but not scary enough to kill an old man whose only stimulus in life usually is looking at stamp fraud. You've got to stop a man whose only usual excitement is looking at stamps from having a cardiac arrest by making a scary ride, but not scary enough for that. And I think that is the goal of all roller coaster creators. Is there an age restriction on roller coasters? I know there's a height one, but is there an age one? I'm not sure. Somebody must have invented white lightning. Somebody must have just got to that what we had then, like 2009. At some point, someone's gone, that's done. That's finished. We've finished making that. And then we're like, have you? Because have you ever made like an everything sauce? Like when you're a teenager and you're making like pasta, or it's usually pasta, and then you just got getting shit out of the cupboards. You get like chili powder. You just get everything. You just get everything out of the cupboards, and you just fucking put it all in, and you make just everything sauce. Everything we had in the cupboards is now in that sauce. And there's always a couple of things you're like, well, that might have been nice if I hadn't have put those fucking anchovies or whatever in. If I hadn't have just opened that, put them olives in there. I mean, olives is quite a normal thing to put in pasta, but do you know what I mean? Just like, didn't need the mayonnaise, do you know what I mean? That sort of thing. That just ruins it. But you're like, oh, as you taste it, you go, you're like, bloody hell, I'm a good chef. And then someone else comes to your house and he's like, why does your kitchen smell like that? There's something died in your fucking kitchen. You're like, oh, actually, maybe I was so wrapped up in my own life that I didn't realize that what I was doing was the work of a crazy person. But like, I feel like maybe the guy who's made this white lightning, he's been given the chemicals for cheap alcohol. He's got them in front of him, like he's when you got a chemistry set and you have that. So I can hear noises. When you got a chemistry set and you got them little test tubes and got different color powders in, there's probably one that's like the set that they put in, like special brew and all the cheap alcohol. Here's your weird chemicals. Like, so we're going to give you a normal cider and just make an everything sauce out of all those chemicals. They'll make it taste worse, but they will make it stronger. They'll make it a different color. And yeah, that's what you need to do. So it's just sort of an everything sauce. It's the everything sauce of booze. I feel like I'm never going to drink it ever again, and I think that is a good thing. I've never missed that. I like sometimes you do miss like when it's real nice. Like at the moment, the sun is fucking out, dude, and it's been out for like a week straight. It's been beautiful. So sometimes you miss like a pint in the sun because it's banging. Can't fucking go wrong with that. But I feel like White Lightning is going to be one of the things that I just won't ever miss. It's the sort of thing when you're drinking it, you know you don't want to drink it, but you're a youth, and everyone else is being drunk, so you want to be part of that. It's more to do with a peer thing, like not peer pressure as such, because everyone's sort of buying in it. It's sort of more like a mob mentality thing. It's like we're going to handle this so that we can all get to a certain level where we can hang out normally, but sometimes we fall over and then we laugh at stupid stuff more than what we usually. Probably quite unnecessary, really. But it's kind of glad in a way that it's gone. So yeah, this is a good time. Whereas I need to tell you that my name is Riggs. This is the Alkaline podcast. This is the podcast where I attempt to get clean or die trying. Getting clean is still winning, as you can hear the sound of my voice and it's not coming from beyond the grave. My words, and yeah, I'm almost at day 50. I'm at day 47.73 of a day. 47 days in. Sponsored by Sober Time, not actual sponsored though. I'm probably gonna have to stop saying that, but I use an app called Sober Time. It counts the days. It gives me badges. So I'm just getting the next badge I'm gonna get is when I'm at 90 days, which is so I'm like halfway, just over halfway to my next badge. So yeah, 50 days feels good. I haven't missed White Lightning, and I have a couple of times been like, oh, could that be nice to have a beer then? But then one turns to 10, doesn't it? One does turn to 10. But I like it's cool. I've got a go into gig system now. Like I got a playlist that I listen to, and I'll listen to the playlist right until maybe when the gig starts. Don't really talk to people before my set. I want to be seen as not a knobhead, but also I want to be able to be introverted before. Depending on the gig, if I know loads of people there, then I'll probably be like, hey, but I quite like going to comedy shows where you're on the lineup, but you go there and you don't really know anyone, so you can just sit in a corner, put your headphones on, just try and get in the zone, smoke a couple of cigarettes, drink a Coke, and then just be in the element when you go on. That's what I quite like doing. The BBC thing came out. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet. I don't know where we stand on announcing the winners, so I won't say anything. But like, I believe you can listen to it on iPlayer. I've not got around to doing it yet. I don't know. There's something weird about watching / listening to yourself. I record all everything that I've ever done, like comedy wise and that. But I don't often listen to them really, unless it's like working on a new thing that I want to remember. But I just have them all recorded. I guess it's good to have the record of it, but it's difficult to listen to yourself, isn't it? It's very much in the moment thing, especially when it's your own work, because it's so fleeting. Because the effect you want to give off when you're doing stand-up is you want the person in the audience to be surprised by what you're saying and to find it funny. So, like, you wouldn't just keep telling your mate the same story over and over again. But as the actual provider of the material, you do have to keep going to lots of different rooms as if you're telling that for the first time. Like man at the bar, sort of spinning some yarns and that. But very quickly, it's nice seeing the reactions of people who haven't seen it before. That's and it makes you like start to think that I like saying there's some bits that are real fun to say. Yeah, one sec. So I've had an interesting time when it comes to getting on the coach, being a bus person, because since about 2011, I get the National Express coach up north, maybe like once, on average, about once a month. So that's one trip up and one trip back. And so that means I take the journey like over 100 times a year, and they don't have loads of different drivers. So maybe I reckon I've maybe 50 drivers. I don't know where I've got that number from, but I'm going to say 50 drivers. I reckon 3 of them have been cool guys. Sorry, there's an alarm going off. I don't know how much you can hear that, but I was about to say I was going to stop it, but then it did stop. It's annoying, isn't it? But they have a microphone and they go on the mic, and it's made me realise how important mic control, like mic technique, is to being a public speaker, because half the time you can't hear what they're saying. They're just like, we're going to start figuring out leads, and then we're going to and then the bus like stops, and then you're like, are we supposed to get off? How long? If it's a break, you're like, how long is the break going to be? 20 minutes. You don't want to get it wrong, because they're fucking militant when it comes to they're like, if you're not back, we're going to stop here at this Woodall fucking services. We're going to stop here. You've got 15 minutes to get off. No hot food. We fucking hate hot food, because somehow it's going to make this horrible journey even worse if you bring some hot food on. I mean, it already smells like hot tuna, but we don't want a hot tuna and also the smell of actual nice food. But be back here between 15 and 20 minutes. And if you're not back, we're just going to fuck off. I remember a couple of years ago, there was a dude, and he was sat back, and he wasn't there, and the guy decided to drive off, so I had to be like, dude, there's a fucking guy. He might be having a shit or something. Do you know what I mean? You can't just... You've got to wait. I mean, fair enough, like, an extra 10 minutes. You just go and look for the dude. You can't just leave a fucking guy in Woodall Services. He's not even drank a special brew and you've kicked him off the bus. All he's done is he's having a shit. Maybe he's getting up some jelly babies and the queue's long, but do you know what I mean? Like, it's not enough to risk losing because all your shit's on there. He's probably left his phone, his fucking wallet, and everything on the bus. And then you're just going to be like, well, I did say 20 minutes, and it's been 20 minutes and 30 seconds, so I'm going to actually fuck off. And it's like, dude, he's not from here. Do you know what I mean? If he's come from London, and he's going to fucking Edinburgh, and this is Woodall Services, which I believe is near Sheffield. You can't leave this Scotsman who's just relieved his bowels and you can't just leave him just only with jelly babies and Woodall Services. It's mental. The bus driver did stop, but it took a couple of us, because I was like, dude, there's a guy, and I think I could see him coming out of the services. He was a bit like free, like running after it a little bit. And then a couple of other people joined in, and I think and then he did stop. But I would hate that to happen to me. That'd be so shit. Woodall Services, and all you got is some fucking jelly babies, and that's it. I feel like you should be able to sue them. Not that it would make much fucking. Not that they would even go. That would even happen. It would take so long that you just wouldn't be asked anymore. One time I left my bag, like, because I used to have. When you drink a lot, you have a lot of excuses for drinking, and one of mine for drinking before coach trips was that I'd be able to get to sleep easier, and then the whole thing would just go a bit quicker, and it would sort of pass me by a bit. But really, I just wanted to have a drink, obviously. But so I used to be quite hungover on the coach a lot, and one time I got to Scotch Corner Services, which was my stop. It was on the megabus, this one. It was actually my stop, and then I got off, and I really needed to wee, and I don't really like using their toilet on the coach, but so I got off and I ran into the services, and suddenly realised that I'd left my my stowed away luggage, so like this big bag of clothes, and not just my clothes as well, like a couple of people's clothes under the bus, and I was like, fuck. So I had to like turn around and I run back out again, and the bus was like starting to go, so I kind of like ran like in front of it, and I swear the dude could see me. What film is that? Liar Liar. Do you know at the end of Liar Liar where he's on those stairs, them wheeled stairs, and he's like flying in front of and he's throwing his shoe at like the cockpit window. It was a bit like that, except more dramatic. My one was more dramatic, but I was just hungover and just needed to go to the toilet, but also running after this bus, and the driver could definitely see me. I think I ran in front of the bus, and I wasn't gonna do like some fucking stop with my arm fucking out, but I just thought he would stop, and he just didn't, and he just fucked off with all my fucking clothes. And then it's a thing like, oh, you phone up the thing, and they're like, oh, we'll make sure someone leaves them at the depot or whatever, which is Newcastle, which is like an hour and a half drive from where I currently am. And then of course you're like, oh, but it's not going to get there till this late time because it's got to do all these drop offs and that. So then when you phone them, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. You know, but we had this whole conversation, and they're like, no. And then like, we'll keep an eye out for it, and you're like, whatever. And then you phone up a week later, and that's fucked. It's gone. I'm like, but who wants all my clothes? My clothes aren't good. Just let me have them back. It is my fault for leaving the thing under there, but, you know, like, they've got their agenda. They're like, no, we'll leave at this time. And if something gets in the way of that, they're just like, fuck you. You ever notice that with just normal buses you get around town? Sometimes they're just like, no! Like, they close their doors and they just will not open them again. I feel like no bus drivers have ever wanted to be one. They don't act like they want to be a bus driver, ever. But when one thing that they do, which has annoyed me like on numerous occasions, they just go on about the coach toilet. They just don't fucking shut up about it. Like this morning when I woke up, I'd just woken up and it was like 5:30 in the morning, maybe 6 o'clock in the morning, and we're just going into the centre of London from Yorkshire, like, and he just starts going, "Come on, no one use the toilet now, please, and no one use the toilet because the toilet is now out of order because there's actually a law. There's a law in the centre of London. You're not allowed to use coach toilets. So if you need to use the toilet, you can use the toilet at Victoria Coach Station. And to get to the toilets at Victoria Coach Station, you get there, and he just says the word toilet like 12, 15 times in a single paragraph, and I'm like, you don't need to hear that as soon as you've woken up. Can't he just be like, don't use the toilet, please? That's it. Leave it at that. You don't have to keep going, oh, well, the toilet was actually invented in 1862 by Armitage Shanks. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure that toilets are much older than that. But they used to just be a hole in the ground. The French call them latrines. But my point is, and it's not just this one I had today. They just love going on about a toilet. Make sure the toilet is out of use. Make sure the toilet is nice and clean. Always leave the toilet there. The toilet is the toilet. If you want to use the toilet, it's at the back of the coach. It's got a sign on it which says toilet. We just want to make everyone aware that there is a toilet in this confined space. There is a coach. This is a coach. It has a toilet at the back, and sometimes the toilet is in the middle. We just want to make every single person aware that at some point somebody on the coach is going to be using the toilet. And you're like, fucking, we get it, mate. Why are you so obsessed with this fucking toilet? Have you got a camera in there? Maybe he had a camera in there. It'd be fucking disgusting watching someone just going over speed bumps, just like rattling around trying to fucking piss. I always look like I piss myself. Like I will never use the coach toilet for a number 2, which is a shit. If you don't do biology via numbers. What's a 3? I don't know. Is it vom? But you know, like I sometimes go for a piss, but it's like what can I? Imagine standing up on a roller coaster and just trying to have a piss. It's too hard. I would just start bashing into the walls and that, and then just come out just covered in my own piss. And everyone thinks I've pissed myself, and I was like, why would I go to the toilet to piss myself? If I was going to piss myself, I'd just do it in my seat, wouldn't I? Who goes to a designated area to piss themselves? A wrong, someone who's not living life correctly. That's who. I'm gonna wrap this up in a second. There's one. The worst thing that happened when we got on the car. I was getting on. So my friend Carrie came down. She was doing something where she was getting into the inner circle of London lawyers, and I'm not sure really what that means. But she came down to do some sort of course, and we got the coach back together. It's the first time I ever got a coach back with somebody. And we were all sat there at London, London Victoria coach station, and then just before we left, the bus driver just went, "Oh, just before we leave, I just want to let everyone know that we have declared war on Libya. We have bombed a strategic position in Libya, and now we're at war with Libya. I thought you'd all want to know that. I don't know. I didn't particularly want to know that, but everyone on the bus, apart from me and Carrie, just started cheering. A guy behind me just went, "At last!" It was insane. I've never heard of people cheering a bombing campaign before. And it was right at the start of the journey, so then we had to be on the coach with people who just love waging war. And I don't know much about Gaddafi and all that sort of stuff, but I know that I'm never going to fucking cheer the beginning of a war. Regardless of... Unless it was like aliens came and they were literally killing everybody. But the thing is, even like... No one knew the extent of the Nazis when World War II began, do you know what I mean? So, like... I wouldn't have cheered like, "Oh, yay!" Like everyone's going to go and fight in this war. Yeah, it's not a good thing, is it? War. So this was weird. Anyway, I'm going to start bringing this bad boy home. This has been the Alkaline Podcast. My name is Riggs. It's the podcast where I attempt to get clean or die trying. I've been sober for 1 month, 16 days, 17 hours, 49 minutes, and 3 seconds, motherfuckers. What have we got coming up? Doing some new material nights. So tonight I'm at the Southern Bell in Hove, and then up the street, we got See You Next Tuesday artist on Tuesday, motherfucker. 11th is the next installment of the Verdict Comedy Club. This is the comedy club that I book and run with my friends James McDonald, the best MC in the fucking land, certainly in the South Coast. And our friend Rox, we run the Verdict Comedy Club. This month we've got Josh Dillon headlining. He's a pro comic out of Shore and Bar C. He does deadpan comedy. He talks about how it used to be a prison officer, and it's very fun. And who else we got? We've got newly crowned South Coast Comedian of the Year 2019, Dinesh Nathan. He's opening the show. We've got Catherine Atkinson. We've got my boy Alex Mason. We've got Frank Islin, who's Swiss. I believe she won some competitions over in Bath. And then we've got my boy Sam Williams. He's quite a new act on the scene, but he runs a club called Club of No Regrets, and he's a very funny dude from the student comedy scene. And then there's me, I'm going on, and then Josh the headline. So it's only £3 to get in. Last month we absolutely sold it out. We've got Nathan. I don't want to forget Nathan. We've got Nathan Ramsden-Lock. He's on the old Ivories there. He plays a bit of jazz piano as people watch the stage, which is one of my favourite parts of the whole night, because we are in a old jazz bar. Do you know what I mean? We're in a basement jazz cafe bar, and it's a real cool vibe, and it's nice to have his little jazz interludes. And sometimes the acts on stage will interact with him a little bit. It's kind of in the style of like an American talk show, but not really like that at all. But it's fun, and it's one of the things I look forward to most each month. So if you are around on Thursday night, it's called the Verdict Comedy Club. It's at the Roxanne at the Verdict Jazz Bar and Cafe. It's up Edward Street, across the road from the Job Centre. And it starts at about 8 o'clock. It's £3 to get in. Last month we sold it out. I'd love to do that again. I appreciate that it's real hot outside, but if you fancy a bit of live comedy, my computer's bust, so I don't know when I'm going to be able to upload this and put it out. So I'll try and do it before then. But if not, Thursday the 11th, and then every single second Thursday of the month, up until the end of time, hopefully. And then, we're back in London on next Wednesday. We've got plenty more gigs coming up, man. But we'll get to that when we get to it. Cool. This has been the Alkaline Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll check in on you next week. Cheers.